Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox, and I'd like to welcome you to the Daily Compliance News. The Daily Compliance News is an offering of the Compliance Podcast Network. July 27th, 2019, the 3-year-olds are Security Risks Edition. First up, looks like the global consulting firm McKinsey continues to be, if not in hot water, certainly generating a lot of negative publicity, as it turns out that in discovery, which was produced as evidence in the most recent opioid lawsuit in Oklahoma, McKinsey had been helping Johnson & Johnson come up with new and different ways for marketing its opioid products. One lawsuit revealed that McKinney recommended a pharmaceutical company get more patients on higher doses of opioids and to study techniques for keeping patients on opioids longer. It's probably only going to be a matter of time before that becomes part of a larger discussion, if not lawsuit, involving McKinsey. Next up, from the Times of Israel, former Teva officials have paid over $50 million in clawbacks to the drug manufacturer based upon its FCPA fine of $519 million to the United States and $22 million to the state attorney's office in Israel to settle investigations, or rather allegations regarding bribes paid on behalf of Teva. The $50 million settlement comes from a Teva independent committee set up to get clawbacks with former directors and management officials. So some pretty good stuff there from Teva about its clawbacks for managers who were involved in bribery and corruption, for which it paid a pretty penny. Next up, if you are an Audi owner, and unfortunately I am, it looks like that Audi has more responsibility in the Volkswagen emissions testing scandal than previously indicated. It shows documents filed recently in a lawsuit in Germany show that Audi managers and engineers were willing, as their counterparts in Volkswagen, to cheat in pursuit of the company's goal of becoming the world's largest car maker. And unfortunately, as noted in the New York Times article by the probably global expert on this subject, Jack Ewing, perhaps even more so. One employee wrote, "We won't make it without a few dirty tricks." So they also had the defeat device and cycle beating language that's utilized going forward. So a black eye for Audi, and certainly not something that they wanted to continue. And finally, our title story comes from an article in the online publication Slate, where one of the company's top border officials said when asked, Ryan Hastings is his name, when asked whether a 3-year-old might pose a criminal or national security threat, he answered, "Well, I can't answer that question." So that's really demonstrates the problem with the family separation issues at the border, and indeed the entire program by the Trump administration, where they can't even understand that a 3-year-old does not provide a national security threat, as opposed to a 13 or 23-year-old. So the hearing was really pretty horrific in terms of the details of the administration's actions, not their plans, but their actions on family separation. The hearing produced testimony that directly contradicted the CFP head of CFP's testimony earlier before Congress. So it's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. But 3-year-olds can be a security risk to the United States. Pretty terrifying. Premiere a new podcast today on the Compliance Podcast Network, Accountability, the Heart of Compliance with Sam Silverstein. Check it out. I know you'll enjoy it. Thanks again for listening. The Daily Compliance News is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network and a proud member of C-Suite Radio.